วันนี้นะคะแอบมาซิทอินนั่งฟังเวิร์กช็อปของ Expert ด้าน UX UI นะคะคุณ Jacob Green ค่ะ UX UI คืออะไร UX นะคะคือ User Experience ประสบการณ์การใช้งานของผู้ใช้งานแล้วก็ UI คือ User Interface นะคะหน้าตาการใช้งานซึ่งส่วนใหญ่จะใช้ในการดีไซน์แอปนั่นเองซึ่งคุณ Jacob Green เนี่ยนะคะเขาก็เป็น Expert ที่บินตรงมาจากอเมริกาเลยเดียวเป็นผู้ที่ทำคอร์ส Google Launchpad นะคะแล้วก็อยู่ในแวดวงของสตาร์ทอัพมานานกว่า22 ปีนะคะแล้วก็ผ่านสตาร์ทอัพทั่วโลกมาแล้วกว่า700สตาร์ทอัพโหเรียกได้ว่าครีมมากจริงๆแล้วก็มาสอนให้กับทั้ง11ทีมในแบบชกวันนี้นะคะงั้นเดี๋ยวจะมาสัมภาษณ์เขานิดหน่อยแล้วกันตอนนี้เวิร์กช็อปวันแรกเสร็จแล้วนะคะรอเขาออกมาก่อนแล้วเดี๋ยวคุย First question would be how important it is for a startup, your point of view, to create the best experience for the customer?
Today, technology is highly important. However, it's kind of easy, not easy, it's kind of doable to create almost any application that you want. So here goes the differentiator. What differentiates one startup from another? So in my humble opinion, one of the biggest differentiator is how easy it is for you to use, how friendly it is, how fun is it, what do you feel toward this application while using it. Therefore, in my opinion, user experience is highly important parameter in applications, and especially for startups that nobody knows, they are early in the market, they have to get their share, the part in the market and so forth.
You said that it is like creating emotion, a friendly to use application to get the startup survive through like 13,100 apps throughout the App Store, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be noticed, and the only way to get noticed is if you provide something new. Now, there's something that we call perceived value. What is the perceived value for the customer? One perceived value might be the service that you provide, the price, and one of the main perceived value by customers or by users of your startup is how easy it for us to use.
One of the most common problem most startup face or maybe online business face is the drop-off thing. One of that is caused from like user experience and user interface, which is quite bad. What is your point of view towards that?
Yes, actually this is something very important. When you look at the funnel, and when we say funnel, we refer to the stages that a typical user goes through your application, starting from hearing about it, by the way, much before you even downloaded it, let's assume it's downloaded, or you got into the site, and then you go through the funnel and you see the drops. Now, what startups typically fail to see is where is the main dropping numbers. For example, it might be by simply asking for your credit card too early, or it might be by simply not providing me, the user, with a sense of safety or trust. There are tons of reasons why people will abandon you. The minute you understand your funnel, the minute you find this, what we call friction points, the points that the user doesn't get along with your application, then you can fix it, and as a startup is critical.
On your workshop, when you let us name and list the main characteristic of our application, why do you think it's important to like personify the application and do that?
Well, I think in the workshop, for those of you who haven't been there or watched the video, one of the exercises that I do, for myself by the way, and for others as well, is actually not to think about their application as if it was a human being. Now, this is something that most people don't do, but I do it because due to two reasons. One, all of a sudden you see the places where the application doesn't behave the right way. So if, for example, your application should be, if a character who's smiling all the time, and all of a sudden this application gets angry, that's a very bad user experience, that's one. And the other one is something that I haven't spoken about in my workshop, but now it's a good opportunity, is about chatbots. When you're talking about chatbots and the industry goes toward chatbots to a very great extent, chatbots has a character. And later or sooner, most of these startups will face the need to create such kind of characteristics, some personalization of the application as a human being. And that's exactly the reason why I mentioned it.
Because normally we don't like to talk to robots, we love human, right? So
Absolutely.
Applications themselves have to be like human.
Absolutely, and nowadays we are speaking to tons of robots. Whenever you use, for example, your GPS to navigate, you are actually talking to a robot, or the robot talks to you. It's not a human being out there telling you take the right turn or go ahead in 300 meters on your left side. It's a robot. And when you speak to any Siri or Google or whatever it is, and you say, okay, where is the best sushi restaurant in Bangkok? And then a robot answers you. And this robot has a characteristic and character, and it's like human beings, as you mentioned before. People tend to think that these are human beings or behave as if they are human beings.
You said people tend to remember bad feelings rather than the good feelings, right?
Yes.
Supposing we got an MVP, minimal viable product launched,
Absolutely.
and then it turns out that people have the negative feedback and rate 1 star in the app store.
Yes.
How do you manage to pick up that situation and make it better?
Okay, that's a great point. Something that startups nearly hardly do is get out there and meet the users using their applications. The minute, if you notice, the first part of my workshop, almost 2 or 3 hours, were dedicated to how do you get out of the building and go and meet your users and make sure that you fully understand the way they behave with the applications. Therefore, the minute you get out there and you trust me, I've seen it so many times, you'll get immediately the exact point that caused this 1 star. The 1 star. Sometimes it's the speed of the application, sometimes something that's really annoying. However, it's highly important to get out there, and the minute you meet them, you find immediately the friction point, and typically 95% of the problem, not 95, 90, 99% of the problem is getting to know the problem. The minute you know the problem, the solution will simply arrive there. The solution will be there very, very easily, within seconds. The problem is that typically startups start to solve the problem, but they are not knowing exactly which problem do they solve. The most important thing you can do on earth is get out there and see them using your app. The minute you know that, you know everything.
What is the most common mistake that startup makes?
Actually, it was the one that I said before. The one, don't get out of the building and meeting them. And highly related mistake is counting on their assumptions. Startups, like any human being, count on assumption. We have an assumption that the elevator won't fall. And we have tons of assumption, and it's running a video and so forth and so forth, which is great. But when you're a startup, the assumptions is typically your killer. Is the most problematic thing. And it goes this way. The minute you have an assumption, you build something based on this assumption. Now, consciously or subconsciously, you start to validate what you have just done based on your assumption. Now, the more familiar we get with our assumptions, the more correct they look to us. Then it's more harder for us to see that we are wrong in the assumption. And that's the second, it has much to do with the first one, that is not going out there meet you. Don't know. Okay,
yes.
Don't dream. Right.
Okay. Let's get out of the topic a little bit, because you're
sure.
from Israel, right?
Yes.
I heard that the technology there is very good.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Could you name a few of the technology that might be interesting for maybe Thai people?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that Israeli technology, it's the technology of course, but it has much to do with the spirit. Israeli tend to love to improvise. They're highly improvising all the time. This is one, and the second thing, they question everything. Israeli tends to question anything. For example, if you were an Israeli and you ask me a question, I would probably ask you, not in an interview like this, but in a conversation, why are you asking this question? That's the wrong question. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about this. Something that will be perceived here, by the way, as very rude, but in our culture it's much more common to doubt anything, and it's perfectly okay. If you go to a meeting in Israel, everybody is doubting other people all the time. In a good respective way, but they will keep on doubting everybody. And I think this is what makes the difference. So this is the spirit of the Israeli startup nation, that we keep on asking questions. Now, as for technology, I am a psychologist, so I'm not that good in technology. I know technology, but in technology we are very strong in security technology, by the way, and very strong in machine learning and AI. We're getting into these spaces very fast. But I think, again, it's innovation. If you go to a coffee shop in Israel, and you're very well invited to Israel, if you get into a coffee shop in Israel, you see 10 people, 5 out of them are talking about the startup they want to create right now. It's something, it's unbelievable. The amount of accelerators and startups in Israel is amazing. It's tons of them.
Approximately the numbers can
The numbers which I heard lies anything between 1,000 to 3,000 startups in any given moment. It's very hard to, what is a startup? Let's say we have a PowerPoint presentation and I sit with my friend in a coffee shop. We haven't raised even one baht or Israeli shekel or dollar, doesn't matter. And we don't have a product yet, but we are passionately talking about our product. Are we a startup? It's very hard to say. For sure we're not a company, but are we a startup? It's a good question, but the numbers are huge. But keep in mind, only 1 out of 1,000 approximately success. Startups drop is huge, anywhere in the planet, by the way. That's life.
Okay, I would like to go to Israel sometime if I have time.
You're very well invited. Shoot me an email. I'd love to show the country. It's a really interesting country.
Okay, great. If you were to give one recommendation to people who are running or thinking about starting their own startup, what is your suggestion?
Oh, my suggestion is to keep on remember that it's a roller coaster. One day you feel at the top of the world, you solve the problem. The day after, there's no hope for my startup, and then back and forth. Sorry for talking about this emotional roller coasting thing, but I think it's highly important. Don't lose hope. Always look backward on an average of 1 week. Don't look only about what happened to you in the last day. Look at 1 week, 1 month behind, and then you'll be okay. And it's great to fail. It's great to fail. If you don't fail, you don't learn anything. Just keep on failing and learn from your failures.
Yeah.
That's super great.
Yeah.
One day you'll success.
Yeah, most Thai people are afraid to fail, so they are.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them, but not in this room, you know.
No, I didn't get the notion.
Yeah.
Actually, in Israel we have from time to time conferences, some conferences that people tell about their failures. That's a conference. They go out on the stage and say, I failed in this and that's my startups, because this is the best way for other people to learn. Because avoiding other people's mistakes is the best way to do it.
Yes. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me in Thailand.
Thank you.
It's great.